In the 208th Block Talks, we speak with Humayun Sheikh, co-founder and CEO of Fetch AI, who explains the intersection of AI and blockchain. I'm your host, Mauricio Magaldi, and this is Block Drops, your weekly digest on blockchain for business. These news are not a form of endorsement, sponsorship, or encouragement for consumption, and are meant for educational purposes only. All right, everybody, I'm here with Humayun Sheikh, who's going to tell us who he is and what he does with blockchain. Humayun, welcome to Block Talks.
Hi Maurizio, pleasure to be here. Thank you for invite. Humayun Sheikh, I run and I founded a company called Fetch AI. The project is called Fetch AI. We set that up in end of 2018, early 2019. We're a blockchain-based agentic system and AI company. AI project. I mean, I say company, but obviously we are in the crypto space and decentralized ledger technology, so it's less of a company and more of a project for us. So what we do is since 2019, we have been looking at how AI will be commercialized in the future. That was the future. Now it's the present. And I'm sure we all appreciate that agentic systems are the main kind of drive of applications in this new AI world. And we've been building the whole infrastructure around it, and we've been building uh, tools and all the surrounding architecture, which enables you to build applications for the AI first economy.
You found yourself at the intersection of two of the most hyped technologies in the world, and we're absolutely going to double click on that. But before that, I mean, before 2017, 16, 17, 19, what was the story? What brought you into what spiked your interest in, and how you found this blend between these two very nascent technologies? How did they click for you?
Yeah. In 2008, 2009, I was part of a company called DeepMind. This is DeepMind, which we exited in 2013 into Google. So I was kind of the first five people, and I was the first investor in the company. And what when we exited, and the reason for the exit was the fact that commercialization wasn't there. AI was the game of only a big enterprise, and to be successful, you only had one option, which was to exit into a bigger enterprise which had enough money to provide compute. And that was 2013. So after that, once I exited my position into kind of in DeepMind into Google, I came out thinking that we need to have a solution for a much um, lower barrier to entry, where AI can become accessible to everybody. And how can we build these applications which anybody and everybody can deploy, and they can actually use the AI infrastructure, and they can actually build the AI components themselves. And that kind of led me into a very interesting kind of direction of multi-agent systems. So multi-agent systems, whereas we were using multi-agent systems even in during the DeepMind period, it wasn't clear how you would take this kind of system and deploy it in a world where everybody has an agent, and that agent can belong to them. They can actually use it for their purpose. How do you connect them? How do you bring them to life? So, and how do you actually monitor them? How do you make sure there is collaboration happening? And how do you orchestrate the coordination between these agents? And that kind of led me to blockchain or the decentralized ledger technology, because um, having a one big database of agents where we can register agents, these agents can actually become auditable. They can actually have payment infrastructure behind them, because these are micro or nano payments. You know, if you're going to query a machine learning model, how do you pay for that machine learning model? And to deliver an intent or execute a task, you need to have multiple of these agents, which are built by different entities, to come together and actually deliver the task. So how do you coordinate all of that? And kind of decentralized ledger technology kind of really fitted really well into it. And I know a lot of projects just say these things, and I try to avoid saying DLTs and crypto because that's not the point. The point is it has a use. It has to be useful, and there is a reason for using it, which is what we kind of started with. So it was it was very logical in a way that the combination of the two was going to be able to deliver us the ability to orchestrate agent-based tasks, to audit, make them auditable, and to actually have the payment infrastructure behind it, and deploy compute. Because as I was saying, the exit to Google was the result of the fact that we there was just too much compute requirement, and one organization is very difficult to own and deploy such kind of compute unless you have raised billions and billions of dollars. So then the point was also to take the agentic system and be able to deploy compute in a decentralized way. So that's kind of how we kind of went into that direction.
I love that. And one of the things that I keep repeating in the show and in my lectures and in engaging in the industry is that AI needs blockchain more than blockchain needs AI. And I think what I heard you say, it kind of plays to that, because there's more there's more reasons for an AI based system to leverage blockchain or DLT, as you say, capabilities than the reverse. Because the reverse is more like you're trying to um, augment your trading capabilities to a certain extent.
Not necessarily. I would slightly disagree with you on that, because I think what is also needed, the crypto and decentralized ledger technology also need applications. We're too caught up in just a very basic financial infrastructure. It's not just about financial infrastructure. It's also about bringing other applications. DLT, it has a lot more applicability than we actually give it credit to. So I think the crypto side is underutilized in my opinion. So I would say it's 50-50, and maybe even slightly more. My vote would go towards slightly more that crypto also needs AI. And I think, and the reason why I say that is if you look at the last 10 years, right, in crypto, we haven't really seen that much utility pop up. We've seen meme coins, we have seen DeFi, and we're still seeing DeFi. DeFi is an application. We're seeing financial application, but we haven't really seen any other, bringing other applications from other verticals into crypto. And where we have tried it, it hasn't really worked out that well, and people have reverted back. Like enterprise tried it, but it didn't really work. I mean, we're obviously crypto enthusiasts and optimists, and we're always going to say, hey, it's doing great. But I mean, in reality, I think it does need application. But the beauty of AI is that it does fit, and it does fit really beautifully, because you can actually start from very basic, which is data sharing, making sure that the data is secured and shared and paid for, uh, and the compute is distributed and is not, in censorship and not in one entity's control. So right from that kind of bottom right up to the application that, why do we have to keep going? And the promise of internet was it'll be open, people will be able to do things, and yet now you can't be found unless an entity finds you, which is like Google. If your website doesn't appear, you're not going to be seen. If your social media post is, it's in everybody's control, so it's not open as promised. And I think this AI movement that is coming needs to be open, and it has the opportunity to bring quite a lot of applications into crypto, which will change the game for crypto, perhaps more so than crypto will change the game for AI.
Oh, I love that view. And my in my experience, I've been in this Web3 for about 11 years, and we didn't call it that then. Um, but one of the things that I find most interesting and makes it easier for non-initiated to learn what this is good for is use cases. And I love that you went there in terms of AI bringing more application slash utility for crypto in general, as probably as this, you know, either agent to agent interface or agent to human interface. Are there any particular use cases you've seen lately in as you develop Fetch AI as this agentic platform of use cases that are potentially AI powered, but based on blockchains that kind of validated your hypothesis or even prompted you to be even more excited about what you're building?
Yeah, I mean, we build. So for those of your listeners who don't know, what Fetch has is three components of the product. First part is a large language model, which is trained in a decentralized environment, and not just that, it's also very much so um, an open system with less, almost no censorship effectively, and it's trained, and people can utilize it just by staking or putting like FET, and it's open, it's free, effectively free, and and the data belongs to you because it kind of it's held in an escrow state with blockchain connected to it. And so all those components, so they kind of give you a different type of large language model where you can actually communicate. It's at par with any other large language model, which is mostly centralized. So that's starting point. The more interesting point is the agentic system, where you can build an agent, you can actually build an application around an agent. For example, you can be building a machine learning model, and that machine learning model does a prediction of a specific type. You can actually not only deploy that model training on a decentralized compute network, you can also source decentralized data in terms of in terms of resource. You can search for it, and you can actually train the model in a co-learn kind of environment, which is a collective learning environment, so people can actually train and yet not have their data taken away. So you can actually do that, and once you've trained the model, you can actually take the model and create an agent around it and deploy the agent without any restriction, without any approvals from anybody. And that agent can become discoverable in the large language model that we have. So if somebody said, "Hey, I'm looking for Maurizio's agent, which does X, Y, and Z," you will find it, you will connect with it. And if Maurizio wants to charge for that model, you can charge for it in crypto. And so the whole ecosystem flows really nicely in terms of how you start from zero and how do you end up into an application which people are using.
Interesting. And let's think about the journey for a developer. The first time they get in touch with Fetch AI, what's the path for them to go from just learning about it or hearing about it and then deploying their first agentic application? Is that a like a discovery phase and a decision phase and then implementation? What does it look like if I'm a new developer just getting around to learning Fetch?
Well, I always recommend going to ASI1, ASI1.ai, which is which is our kind of large language model, which you can interact with. Um, a lot of people call it ASI, but I mean it's you if you start interacting with it and ask all the questions you've just asked me, it'll give you all the answers, right? So that's it's a pretty decent starting point. But we kind of have Fetch.ai website which lays out exactly what the products are, how you can actually interact with it. We have all the social media channels where you can actually go. But the second product which I was telling you about, which is where all the agents actually exist, and um, and can be, which is kind of like a marketplace for agents, is called agentverse.ai. So agentverse.ai, you go and you actually you can discover agents. You can actually uh, start an account and build your agents. These agents, you can actually deploy the code. You can test it. It's like having a search engine optimization combined with a development environment. So you can actually test what prompts it will accept, what kind of ways it would interact. You can give it a chat protocol. So it doesn't matter how technical your agent is. You can actually just wrap it in a chat protocol, which is a fetch chat protocol. So we've designed and developed it, and then you can communicate with your agent just like on natural language. So I mean, you can build a very high complex protein folding large language machine learning model and deploy it, and I can just go and say, hey, I want to do this protein folding. Here's my data. Go and do it. Just as I said, and what it would do is it will do all the DevOps for you. It'll take the model, it will deploy it on compute, decentralized compute. It will run in training kind of initiative around that model. So the agents will do all of that for you. You don't have to do anything. So for a developer, I think the starting point is go and speak to ASI1, and then it lays out everything for you.
I want to double click on the decision making process for selecting the underlying DLT. You came from the AI space. You found DLTs, these incredible conduit for the agentic AI use case. How did you go about selecting which chain or chains were most appropriate, and what are the maybe challenges and limitations you found in the process or in the chains themselves as you made those decisions?
Very, very interesting question and very relevant, perhaps 4 or 5 years ago. We spent a lot of time in this discovery phase where we were looking at how are we going to do this, which is, I mean, if I had started now, I think there'll be certain different choices, and probably I won't take this long to kind of do a chain. But 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 let me take you through the journey. So you're looking at 2018, 2019. The only kid on the block was Ethereum, really. So you have Ethereum, which is doing all these transactions. That's where all the attention is, and you look at it, and then you try and deploy something, and it just does not work. The speed was too slow. The agentic system needed a lot more, and we were building an infrastructure where you could actually, instead of using proof of work, you could actually do useful proof of work. So we designed our own initiative called useful proof of work, which is the consensus mechanism we use, where you actually, while you're actually doing proof of work, you're actually solving problems and creating or training machine learning models and testing them. So it's actually useful. So while you're actually doing consensus, you're actually training AI models. So, but that was quite a heavy infrastructure and needed quite a lot of work. We did the testnet for it, but then we found during that time, there was an ecosystem which was growing, which is the Cosmos ecosystem, which was growing. And we looked at Polkadot, and we looked at Cardano, and we looked at some of the others. We felt at that point the best tools that were available and the best ability to deploy networks and then coordinate all the ecosystem of networks, because we felt other projects will do the same, and it will be easier to interact with those. And also the Ethereum based network, because um, I mean, Solidity, great as it was a starting point, didn't have all the tools that you needed. So Cosmos ecosystem looked very good, and we deployed our own chain, and we kind of played around with some plug and play consensus models. But what our focus was not to build another chain. Our focus was to build this infrastructure which can run AIs and agentic AIs and actually coordination. So very quickly we felt we don't really need to put our effort in building a brand new chain, and we should be chain agnostic, and that's what we became. So if you think about running agents, our agents are chain agnostic; they can run on any chain. But our seed and our seat is in Cosmos, and we have our own chain.
Interesting. And how many chains are you supporting at the moment? And do you see any particular difference in the developer base of picking and choosing a particular chain, or do you abstract that away for the developers in its entirety?
We try and abstract it, but there are several projects which are built on Ethereum-based chains. I mean, ERC20 chains. We have Solana. We have deployments on Solana. We have deployments on BNB, Binance chain. Any BEP20 chains. So it's quite varied, and we also have some deployments on Cardano. Again, it's not difficult to run agents on any chain. It needs some work by some ecosystem. I mean, we help them, but ultimately it's about just recording a transaction, making sure the coordination layer works, and that can be done on one chain or multiple chains. And we try to stay agnostic.
In terms of the ASI alliance, that was one of the um, probably the most significant event in terms of industry coordination when it comes to this cross section between crypto and AI. Um, I don't know how much you were involved into creating that alliance and how the process was, but I was very curious to understand how did it work, because I think it was the three founding members, somewhat competing, somewhat not, and then kind of coordinated to create that and grow the ecosystem as part of this kind of joint effort.
Yeah, so it was my kind of brainchild, my thinking that we kind of all the three projects came about at similar time in their lifetime. But we were doing very complementary things. Actually, competing, I would say, is only in terms of crypto token, in terms of where to put people's interest in which token. Apart from that, I think if I park that aside and if I look at just the overview of technology, our technologies were very complementary with each other. So if I give you like an overview, the top application layer was fetch. Underneath it, you have the algorithms and how you train the LLMs and the techniques. And so Singularity is a research kind of based entity. So they were looking at that kind of. So we brought, we wanted to bring all that technological research that they were doing into building the product. So, and then underneath it, you had this, if you're going to train models, what do you need? Data. What do you need? Data tools, right? Which was Ocean, and that's what they were doing. So on surface, when you look, oh, they're all in AI space, okay, then it's competing. But if you look at the tech stack itself, it was actually very complementary. We were looking at the application, Singularity was looking at the research, and Ocean was looking at data. And and we needed all of them to actually make a tech stack which was coherent. But just one thing we were missing was the compute. So we started an initiative where we said fetch compute will enable GPU deployment, but very quickly we found another partner, which is called Kudos, who already had that compute infrastructure. So now if you look at the whole tech stack, it makes sense. So you start from compute, you have the silicon, you go to the next level, you have the data, you have all the tools for the data. So then you have, okay, what are you going to do with the data? Is going to deploy models, which was Singularity's forte. Then you deploy it on a decentralized compute and you train it with the decentralized data tools. And then once it's all done and ready, and now you want to monetize it, now you want to build an application with it, then you have Fetch, where it's the agentic application layer. So that made a lot of sense, and it generated a lot of efficiencies, bringing all of us together. And then the token became one, the communities became one. So suddenly you have this much bigger project, a much bigger community, and that's where we started. So that's why I think it was. Yeah, it sounded competing, but it was actually very complementary.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a cross pollination multiplier effect because you're just
Yeah,
adding to the stack, and as you said, crypto uh, potentially is a tribalist sector, I want to say, but by the time you're actually solving different problems at different levels of the stack, and the underlying economic incentive is made common, then you have a much bigger community across the entire.
Well, and it's also silly. I mean, if we're going to compete or even have a chance of actually producing something remotely equivalently efficient as a centralized entity, we need to not have these 10,000 tokens. Like, oh, so now I need data, so I need this token. Then I go from data, I need to convert this token into some other token, and then I need to run an agent. I need to convert all of that into FED token. I mean, it's like this is very inefficient, and you can't build true applications. You can build crypto projects and cryptocurrencies very quickly, but to build a actually working, useful AI system. I mean, AI is not a simple problem to crack,
Mhm.
and you're making it overcomplicated by having too many tokens. So I think it made sense to put it all together.
Now, in terms of industry, we're seeing emergence of the centralized AI, such as OpenAI and its derivatives, and then Anthropic and whatever else, and Google itself, Gemini, and other things. And then you have some larger projects in the decentralized AI space. What's your read in terms of market placement? It's obviously easier to move quicker in a centralized manner, but it also concentrates a lot of power and industry influence, whereas decentralization, as we understand it, accumulates power at the edges, which is obviously a different take on what the power flows are. How do you see this industry moving forward with kind of your decentralized AI hat, but also having being a pioneer on the centralized AI world? What's your, I mean, you're in a very unique, privileged position to make some sort of analysis in terms of market landscape going forward. What are your, top five potentially, positive effects and maybe two or three of the challenges and hurdles you're seeing in this particular combination between centralized and decentralized AI?
Yeah, I think let's start with negatives because yeah, it's always good ha- to look at all the hurdles that are possible. Um, Decentralization is not very efficient. Um, it requires a lot of improvements for it to become competing with a centralized entity which has full control and be a lot more efficient. But I mean, if I flip it completely, I think that's a strength as well, because now you're coming up with techniques which are going to make it more efficient, which means that you will actually build better technology. So so with the negative comes the positive, and that's quite an interesting positive because things and solutions which a centralized entity perhaps doesn't even need to think about, we start from that point, right? So we start to solve the difficult problem. So then the next problem which comes is if we start from that point, um, how do you manage to keep an eye on what your actual focus should be? And I think you asked a very relevant question. What about the chain? How did you choose the chain? The reason why we wanted to solve the chain problem was that we didn't have a solution. As soon as we found a solution, we don't want to just carry on doing the same thing. If the solution exists, you take it. And I think, again, if you don't do that, then you're going to be slow. But that's, again, the negative comes with a positive. The positive is the ecosystem in this decentralized space and open source network is such that you can go and find collaborative projects to collaborate with. So you don't have to do everything, which is great because that brings you speed. And I think that is very, very necessary in this space because, as you have seen in the last couple of years, everything is moving really fast. So that's the negative and the positive, both sides. If I look at where we think this market is going to go, I still think we need a lot more speed in this decentralized space. I mean, if you look around, you don't see that many AI projects. I mean, if you really see some, you will not see much in the crypto space. You don't see AI projects. I mean, there's only a few handful you can name. And the reason is it's not easy. The reason is you actually need that special knowledge, you need the infrastructure, you need to have the right people to build a AI solution. So it's not going to be easy. The biggest problem I see in crypto is this mentality of get rich quick. So none of us, I mean, crypto bros, and we want to get rich quick. So what that has created is an image of this whole meme coin economy. So unless it's pumping constantly, it's useless. It's got to be rubbish because the price hasn't appreciated. But to build something meaningful, it takes time, and that's the problem which we need to overcome the most, I think. And I think that's going to be that has to be kept an eye on, because that could create a negative impact, and not just that, but it could be uh, it could affect the quality of projects coming out of this ecosystem. And that's the bigger problem. If we don't start seeing good projects come out, and actually it has been very stagnant in the recent last several months, 6 months, maybe 8 months, not many good projects have come out, and not the ones which I can name and I've seen and that develop something meaningful. We saw a lot of innovation in the early days, but not anymore. So that's a problem.
We're in what someone called the stablecoin summer. So everyone now just pays attention to whatever it is that's happening on the stablecoin space. There are stablecoin conferences happening, podcasts emerging. Like everyone, it seems that it's the only talk of the town is stablecoins, which it's interesting, but it's just a single use case if you think about it. It's not. It doesn't yield a variety of innovation that AI platforms probably will. So I think I share the sentiment.
And also, stable coins are stable coins. I think we've already got the winners, right? So the problem is already solved, most of it. You have stable coins. They're big enough. They are mostly regulated enough now if they need to be. The governments are receptive. We built a yield strategy around them. We can use them on any exchanges. The banks can convert them in and out. There's on ramps, off ramps. So I think people who are already winning this game know what they're doing, and I don't think there is any room left unless you come up with something really, really innovative, which we have looked at algorithmically controlled stable coins and failed miserably, as we know, because it doesn't work really, and you just got to move on. Um, because currency is not something which the governments and the regulators will just gonna let us loose free. We're just gonna have to live with that.
In the sense of working in an industry that doesn't stop, it works 24/7, 365. How do you keep yourself healthy?
Yeah, it is quite draining, and to be fair, I feel I had to switch off. Now I've been, in this space and running a project for the last 6 years effectively. It is draining when the negativity hits, and the negativity generally doesn't hit because we've done something wrong. Negativity hits when the market is moving up or down. So positivity or negativity. So if the token is pumping, everybody's very happy, and I've done that. You cannot do anything wrong. Then everything is great. And then when it's tanking, then you must have done something wrong. Why can't you make the price go up? I think that's generally the case. It's like, go buy some tokens. Yeah, well, I mean, there is a like almost 2 billion market cap. What do you expect me to go and buy like $1 billion worth of coins? I mean, just insane. But again, that's part of the game, right? That's the industry we're in, and you have to take the good with the bad. And but I do feel that we need to change a little bit of that, and we need to have at least some uh, some patience in real technology and build some real solutions, because that takes time, and people just don't want to wait. They want to get rich right now.
That's true. In terms of the industry, I mean, you're talking about the industry just now, but uh, what is the one thing that you would pick to fix right now to avoid working another 15, 20 years in the industry and looking in hindsight and saying, we didn't fix that one thing and now we're back to square one? What would be that one thing and why?
I mean, I'm kind of gonna restrict it to AI space because I think it's a very good example. Um, if you look around in AI space outside of crypto, the AI companies' valuations are huge, right? So if you look at people who have built LLMs, large language models, like ChatGPT, Mistral, Gemini, like all of these companies, they have very specific products, large language based. Their valuations are crazy, right? They're huge valuations. And here we are, Fetch and this whole alliance, which has a tech stack which is actually better than anything that exists either in Web 3 or Web 2. I mean, I'm comparing both. And we're at a valuation of like whatever it is today, which is in comparison a very, very insignificant percentage of the valuations that we're seeing in tech companies in the tech world. The reason why that is, and on the other side, within crypto, you see projects like some dog with a hat having four times the valuation, or some other meme coin having some crazy valuation, or some other token which has no absolute no utility, no usage, no product, nothing, and it's kind of now the I don't know what the reason is, and I don't know how to fix it, but that is a problem because if you don't fix that problem, you don't have the capital to build anything which is meaningful. Because all you're going to do is anybody who's serious and trying to build something serious will have no capital because people are not valuing it correctly. And anybody who is building some um, Ponzi scheme gets the highest valuation. This is not a reflection on every project. This is a reflection on some of the projects. And we all have seen it. We've all been rug pulled, and all of that has happened. And I think that is a problem which, if I could fix it, I would fix it. And I think we need to fix it fairly quickly because now we are actually going mainstream, and we need to mature up a bit. We can't be what we have been recently. So I think, I mean, we need to become serious as Ethereum or all these projects which came early on, which actually did something groundbreaking, actually did bring some innovation into the space. And I think if we can go back to that, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I've seen regulators use the term responsible innovation, that they are willing to partake into regulatory sandboxes and pilots and things like that if we can demonstrate responsible innovation as an industry. I don't think meme coins help with that at all.
That hampers innovation. That's not good for innovation. It takes too long. It's too restrictive. I'm not suggesting that at all. What I'm suggesting is if we self-regulate, if we become responsible ourselves, we don't need to do that. And then the speed of innovation can still continue. The reason why we grew where we grew was because there was no regulation and people were sensible. I mean, Ethereum was a great project, right? It is still is a great project, and so many other chains which came out of outside of Ethereum, the innovation in smart contracts, that was a huge innovation. Bitcoin itself was a big innovation. You have other projects, the next, the chains which came after and the projects which came after, stable coins, great innovation, DeFi. I mean, these are innovations which happen. But what we're using them for example, DeFi is trading shitcoins, right? That's where the problem is. Now, DeFi in itself is a big innovation. I mean, it changed the game.
Yeah, absolutely. The risk of the innovation should be the risk of the innovator, not the user. I think that's kind of where this is headed. And when people reach out to you from your previous career and ask for help getting into crypto, what's your usual welcome kit that you offer them, if you do?
If they ask me which crypto I should buy, then I generally say I don't know, and I don't really want to say too much because I don't know. I really don't genuinely don't know because it could be anything. So I don't partake in any of that conversation. But if they're looking for some starting advice on actually building something in this space, in the DLT space, in the decentralization space, then I generally try to encourage them, but I don't want them to just feel that it should be done uh, just because we have X but decentralized is not an answer. because just by adding the word decentralized, like we have AI but decentralized, doesn't make any shitting difference, because really what you need is it going to be usable? Is it going to be efficient? Is it actually going to compete with a solution that already exists? If it doesn't, then don't bother. Find a solution, because otherwise it's just a waste of time. Now, when you say such things, it might sound wrong, because there might be something there. But my starting point generally is: do you actually need decentralization? That might not be the most favorite answer people want to hear, but it's a very factual answer, because do you actually need it? If you don't need it, don't do it, because it's an extra complication.
Absolutely. Listen, we're approaching the end of our hour, and I thank you so much for sharing about your story, your perspectives on AI. How can people find more about you, Fetch AI? Whereabouts are you? Conferences, podcasts? Are you launching a book or any kind?
No, I don't think so. I think books are now becoming overrated, because any of these LLMs could do that for you. Um, Probably a lot better. So yeah, I think we Fetch is a reasonably established project, so our information is available on all social media channels. Mostly, we post quite a bit on X. Not just we don't try not to just post like rubbish. Try to post something useful. We showcase our technology every day. We showcase agents every day. So follow us on X Twitter, and the website is as fetch.ai, so fetch AI. We have a lot of information there. If you're a developer and you want to connect with us, we have Discord channel, we have Slack channels. So please hit us up. Go on our website. All the details are there. I mean, really thank you guys for doing these podcasts, because it's bringing awareness. And I mean, really, if even if you're not a developer and you just want to engage, try and use our large language model. Try ASI1, which and see it's a lot cheaper than ChatGPT. It's decentralized, and it's tuned for agentic stuff. Helps you with a few more extra bits on the crypto side. So maybe the starting point should be ASI1, and the website is asi1.ai.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you joining us today, and maybe we'll bump into each other in a crypto conference somewhere around the world.
Thank you, Maurizio.
Thank you. Bye for now. Catch us online. We're on Instagram at BlockDropsPodcast, on Twitter at BlockDropsPod or 0x Mauricio. We're on Lens at blockdrops.lens. We have a newsletter on LinkedIn. Write to us at blockdropspodcast@gmail.com, and you can listen to the BlockDrops podcast at Spotify, iColab, Faberbun Tech, and all of the other major streaming platforms. Yay! Shout out to Humayun for playing such a pivotal and pioneering role in our industry, and also to Mariah Masters for setting up this interview. Don't forget to leave the ratings on your favorite player, and check out the merch store at blockdropspodcast.xyz. This is all for today. Stay rare, stay weird, LFG.